Smile and wave until tomorrow. Tim will be back, and then everything will be fine, okay?
Yeah, normality will have returned.
We are going to jump now into our third game of the night. W7M versus FaZe Clan here on Chalet. Second time we're seeing Chalet tonight. And at the start of Super Week, could that be a sign of things to come? We've seen a little bit of Chalet throughout the course of the season, but maybe teams have been saving it for this moment in time, Gio.
Yeah, this is the new Oregon, where like you see it all the time. It's just going to be just Chalet. And we're going to lap it up because it's new and it's fresh. And then, you know, by next stage, we'll be like, please, no more Chalet. But the thing with Chalet, actually, that's really exciting, and this is why I actually didn't mind when back in EU last year when we had just tons of Oregon, I didn't mind it then either, because it was still fresh to the map pool. You're seeing the development of the strategy of the map happen in real time. Whereas like when we get a lot of Oregon days now, we know how to expect Oregon to be played. We're not really seeing much new. Chalet's kind of like that right now. So even if we get a bunch of Chalet, we're still seeing new things. Teams bring out like their individualisms. And I mean, especially on a game with FaZe Clan playing, FaZe Clan who just go for these absolutely ridiculous strategies. Hello, breaching garage door on Consulate from the inside. Hello, their double mirror setup on Chalet when they were playing Team 1. FaZe Clan like to do some spicy stuff, and W7M, we already spoke about having a really unique playstyle, so actually put that together on Chalet, and this is probably going to be something that's really exciting.
We did, of course, see FaZe Clan play Chalet back against Team 1. It was an 8-7, so it kind of speaks to the way that the games have been going tonight. And obviously, I mean, a scoreline like that, you can tell without me having to say anything that it wasn't a clear-cut affair for FaZe. They did struggle here. Now, I imagine that they've got a good reason for choosing to come back here now. But that was a game that, if I remember rightly, we saw Cyber and Bullet struggle quite greatly, particularly on kills. Now, we've since seen Cyber improve his performance somewhat, but still not as consistent as I would imagine he would like to be, or as consistent as he has been previously. So questions tonight over if FaZe are going to be able to keep up performances that they've given in the past, because whilst they've had plenty of wins, there's only been a handful that have been fairly convincing, and with the way that the last game went, I can imagine they've got their eyes set on a full 3 points out of this one.
What I'm going to be really looking out for is how much the entry affects these two teams. Astro on FaZe Clan has the best entry stats for them at a +6. But when you look over at W7M, Herds typically plays their entry as well as playing a lot of roamy things. He's playing Smoke right now, but regardless, he actually has the worst KD, or he has pretty bad KD and a pretty bad entry, both of which are negative. And so I think that could really come to hurt them if FaZe Clan can exploit that. In fact, Herds was the first player on W7M in this round that we saw take a ton of damage because he was getting aggressive at a window. If you don't think you can take those engagements, FaZe Clan are not the team to mess with in them. Now, he is obviously still alive for now, but I just think it's worth bearing in mind for the future rounds and the rest of the game.
Especially as the Smoke, you want to be trying to keep yourself alive to ensure you've got those Toxic Babe canisters when they are at their most valuable. And that is, of course, in the last few seconds or as a push comes through. You really want to deny a ton of access for some attackers. Padron so far has done a really good job of soaking up a few nades, but is going to come face to face with Cyber. Keeps himself alive for a good deal of time. We do get a bit of pressure here from Gee, and that's a great little bit of teamwork from W7M, really causing a ruckus on the clash. Kills did go in either direction previously, though, as Cyber and Souls have already fallen, but Padron back on the site on the clash. Astro looking to try and stick the plant. It looks like it's going to go ahead. Oh, by a hair's breadth. It will be confirmed. Bullet now trying to hold on. He's at the bottom of library stairs. I think they know exactly where he is. At least Guy knows where he is. He picks up the final kill. Plenty of time to disable that diffuser. Good first round there from W7M.
It seemed a little bit cocky from FaZe Clan, if I'm totally honest, especially the way that Cyber was aggressing onto Padron. He kept pushing the Clash back, which is totally fine. You need to be meleeing the Clash if you want to have access to the feet, which is how most people are going to land a kill onto her. But then when she turned around, allowing yourself to be hovering in the library door without considering that there is a player behind that wall and that there would be a player there for support from W7M, which in this case was Guy, that was a little bit short-sighted, and I think probably too confident in the fact that he was going to collect that kill and wouldn't really need support and wouldn't really need to worry about those things. Same as when the plant was going down. There were so many players from W7M who were still alive, and FaZe Clan just decided it was still in their interest to make the plant despite that fact. If there's one thing that I would say about FaZe Clan, it's that after the loss they had to Ints, they can't overestimate their own ability anymore. It's all well and good having really good individual stats and having really solid players, and yes, in the past having shown some great coordination and strategy, but teams are going to start figuring it out, understanding the way that you play, and in no position can you just sit and look at teams that are lower down the scoreboard and assume you're going to overcome them, because that's simply not how it works. And it's the second that you stop giving respect to your opponents that you start to lose against them. FaZe Clan can't afford to have another loss, least of all against a low leaderboard team. They've already had one against Ints. They need to be playing a lot more cautiously as it stands.
And if we think back to the Cyber game on Villa, it was really down to a standout performance from Cyber. And kind of Astro alluded to that in the interview afterwards, that was what happened there, because there was a couple of things that really weren't clicking for the rest of the squad. Now, W7M have arguably got a decent start here, just in the fact that they're on the defense. Not only the fact that they were able to pick up round number 1, but Chalet can swing a little bit further toward this defensive side, and we've spoken about this particularly in the first game of the night where we were back here on Chalet, and that is that, you know, it's a map that's quite large. Gio, I feel like you are speaking things into existence here. Hertz finds himself taken out as first blood. I imagine he was getting over-aggressive somewhere near a window.
I would believe it. Kurtz is going to do the same thing, though. Just completely drop it. Oh, no! Bullets punishing him. I couldn't even get my words out. I was going to say completely dropping down and getting that kill in revenge, but couldn't get back over the window frame to find refuge inside. Panico adding on to the kill count for W7M as well brings this to a 3 versus 3. What a strange sequence of events and some kills that, to be perfectly honest, maybe didn't need to happen.
Certainly as Kurtz, as the smoke, I spoke, about how valuable the Toxic Babe canisters are. It is a known thing to be getting yourself out there into that line of fire. Sure, you're not to know that there's a guy holding you vertically, but that's the level of coordination you need to expect from a team like FaZe. Now, it might be an equal 3-3 in terms of man count, but we do have Padron on the Clash. Now, does that make it advantageous for the attackers or the defenders? Well, it all depends. The main thing to take away from it, though, is that for the most part, there won't be a defender with a gun in the hand. Instead, they will have a shield. Panico does something to level that out, though, taking down Astro. So it's safe to assume the advantage was firmly with the defenders for the time being until Cyber decides to swing. The defuser has now been picked back up. A nade going to be thrown as an impact, but it won't be netting any kills. Cyber going to try and make his way up Solarium, cooking a nade as he goes. Probably trying to put it onto Padron here, or at least force him out. Very well cooked grenade, but unfortunately doesn't quite have the length on it required to get all the way to the Clash. With only 15 seconds left, we can see that FaZe are scrambling. Both players rotate into either side, desperately trying to find some sort of a cross. Guy takes down Souls, and with it, the diffuser. Now dropped cold on the ground outside of the building. Guy with the second must have had some intel. Mr. Last Kill coming in right now. He's picked up both the last kills in rounds 1 and here in round number 2.
Hey, would you look at that? That's 2 rounds on the board for the team who you wouldn't necessarily expect are going to win. Where have I seen that before? Oh, wait, that last game. Kind of similar to that as well. W7M are looking pretty clean so far, and seeing those last 2 kills from Guy is really nice as well, because he isn't somebody who really statistically has shown up. He currently sits with a cost of 57%, which is pretty low. He also has a KPR, that's the number of kills per round on average, of 0.49. So that's less than 1 kill every 2 rounds. That's pretty low to see. But one thing that Guy has proven to be is actually quite an effective flank watch. And he's done that in some interesting moments as well. Now, obviously, flank watch is a role that you would most commonly attribute to the attack, and you would have them on things like a jackal or a nomad or a gridlock if you're going to be going crazy. So it's not really a defending role, but you can still kind of do a similar thing. You know, if you are accustomed to looking out for a certain kind of play, you can still attribute that to one side or the other. And this is something that Guy did in that last round. He was watching key rotates that the attackers could make and caught 2 of them out at the end in the process. That is exactly the kind of job and the kind of objective that you would be looking to achieve when playing that sort of role, and when that's the way that you think about the game. So even though his statistics on paper have not necessarily been the best, and he's not always the guy who you expect to get kills, he still certainly has value. Now, what the hell has happened to Panico?
Well, he seems to have found himself in a bit of a pickle. He's got himself down, but not out. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to get revived, as Guy's going to try and get to him, but we're also going to lose herds in the process. This could be where we see FaZe take huge advantage as Nade tosses on in. Padron going to be able to, I think, push it back out with the shield, or maybe it hit the ledge. Either way, it didn't make its way on in. FaZe still with an early advantage, not only in that opening kill, but even though Panico's been revived, he's got a lot less hit points than he would have done. Kurt's going to be playing a very tight angle there as we see defenders kind of scramble. They're going to need to try and cover more locations, especially when spreading themselves between both top and bottom floor.
FaZe Clan have a lot of time to play with here, and a lot of room too. Panico might find himself getting caught out here. Who's going to make the shot? Oh, it actually will be Panico. Cyber taken down. A really key player from FaZe Clan who we've spoken about quite a lot and really heralded. Can be exceptionally effective when he needs to be, and that's also the sledge gun. Astro will be joining the kill count as well. W7M getting their revenge on those early kills. Panico again, Panico for a 3rd time. FaZe Clan don't seem to be able to stand a chance against this man. Now it's just Souls on his own. A great player, but how effective can he be when it's just him and he's going up against these 3 from W7M? Admittedly, one of them is DBNO'd, and maybe he'll be able to finish off that. He finds it. He gets Guy. He doesn't know that this last player of Kurt's is down but not out, but he's about to die anyway. It's just up against Padron. At some point, Souls and Padron are going to have to face each other off, unless Souls can catch him out from the feet before that has to happen. That's what he manages to do. Disappointing that FaZe Clan lost so many players up until that point, but Souls was ready to avenge.
I think Panico might feel a little bit hard done to in that round. From the start that he had, to be able to pull it back and come out with all of those kills in such an impactful way, and then for it to be a 1 versus 2 and for Souls to come out with the clutch. Now, that's no slight against Souls. He's one of the best players, for my money, on the side of FaZe. Very consistent in his performance. But God, that's got to hurt if you're a W7M fan, because that one really could have been the start of a nice little streak there. As it stands, W7M still have an advantage here, but getting a bit of an idea as to just how that clash can be dealt with. And it's fairly recent change that melee and the shield will cause the shield to drop, and then you've just got to get a couple of shots in onto the legs. You can do that a couple of times, and all of a sudden you've gotten yourself a kill. Not good from the side of W7M, and a bit of a clutch required from the side of FaZe. Still by no means convincing.
I do wonder if the clash is a bit of a crutch for W7M. My point being, if FaZe Clan start to consistently bring the clash down and prove to be able to counter her, how much are W7M relying on that being in their defensive lineup to get victories? As soon as you have to make an adaptation on your operator lineup, is that going to significantly affect W7M in their ability to get wins? They don't have to find out the answer to that just yet because they've brought clash once again on Padrin. In fact, what I would say the biggest change that W7M need to make at this point is get herds off the freaking windows. Playing so aggressive really early is hurting W7M because he's getting caught out in engagements that he doesn't need to be. If he had been alive in that late round when Souls was popping off, maybe W7M would have had the angles they needed to stop that from happening. Maybe Kurtz could have been resurrected when he was DBNO'd. You never know. That's why you can't afford to throw away lives early on that simply don't need to be ended.
W7M trying to spread themselves across this top floor. Padrin playing outside on the clash there. He's going to eat a bit of utility from Zafir's lifeline. Guy got the mirror facing in towards Library. But otherwise fairly exposed from the angle. Not playing the double mirror instead, just opting for a single mirror and a bit of a rotate hole to peek through. Opening kill once again for FaZe. Herds falling short. You've got to start thinking about switching things up a little bit here. A smoke dying early is really going to be detrimental to W7M, and they could do with that utility at least alive in the late portion of the round, but it will not be the case here. Cyber's actually got himself all the way in and could have a nice challenge onto Guy here, although does he know where Guy is? Guy's done quite a good job of actually moving off the mirror window and going into the more unpredictable spot. He'll find one onto Souls. Can he hit his shots? No! The wall bang from Cyber. 3 kills came in prior though for W7M, leaving it all to do here for Cameraman and Cyber, now left in this 3 versus 2.
Well, we've seen these two players work together before, and they can work magic when it's just them on their own. Decent amount of time, as they have just under a minute. They don't have to panic too much, but they are outnumbered, and that is still worth noting. Cameraman's going to send in a Gemini, and that should aid Cyber with some information from what is happening in the site below. Just being careful and slow for now. Doesn't want to give too much away with sound cues, just looking for any of those opponents.
Ooh, Panico comes in. That's a huge kill there over onto Cameraman. Cyber gets an important down once again. Is this clash providing the value, or is it going to get dealt with? Constantly meleeing the shield, but Cyber knows he can't focus solely on the clash. Actually gets the panic knife kill onto Padrin, but it's likely at this point that time will run short, and Cyber knows that. The diffuser's cold, and he's going to have to try and recover it, but with only 2 seconds left, he isn't going to be able to get it and successfully get a plant down. W7M do the right thing and run away with their tail between their legs, but it ensures them.
Again, it was, you know, nice from... Who was it? It was Guy and one other player from W7M who were upstairs who managed to kind of stunt a lot of FaZe Clan's push. And I think that's really good because you can tell that they're getting value out of their off-site play. It's not just about wasting time. They're not getting killed off in the process. I mean, Guy did eventually lose his life by Cameraman, but it was only after 3 kills had come in for W7M. So that was a really effective way of shutting down key parts of FaZe. And I mean, when we talk about players like Astro, for example, who I mentioned is really good for entry on FaZe Clan, doesn't quite have as high a KD as a couple of the other players, but shutting him down early is still really effective and valuable. But again, I have to bring it back down to losing herds really early. Don't put this guy on really important late round operators if he's gonna die really early, or just tell him to stay away from windows. And I don't want to make it sound too much like I'm criticizing the team that just won the round, because that's not entirely fair, but it's more just a couple of those round wins that W7M have been close enough that you could feasibly imagine FaZe 2 have won them. And you don't want to be getting in situations that are that close, especially when you're bringing a very similar defensive strategy and defensive lineup every single time. Because as that margin between the wins starts to narrow and how close the rounds are, eventually it will be overtaken and the attackers will start consistently doing better. You can't afford to do that, especially when there are really simple mistakes that you can fix nice and early to ensure your dominance.
Ooh, Panico! Here he comes. Standout player for W7M. This time finding the opener for him and his team. Cameraman getting taken out on the Iana. Horrible windows being challenged onto. Gee, that's a great grenade that you have just eaten, my friend. It is going to leave him down, but not out. Astro maybe going to look to try and push up, but no, it's going to be Cyber to aggressively take the stance on that one. Taking down Gee and looking to maybe stun out the player at the top of Library. Hertz finds one over onto Souls. This is probably the quickest round we have seen so far in terms of action. Cyber comes head to head with the clash, but gets saved by his teammate in Bullet, getting that kill and continuing to trade them on out. Panico and Kurtz, 2 versus 1. Cyber is all that remains for FaZe after a very rushed round here. Is he going to be able to find anything? It looks like he's not got too much intel. Trying to stun out the player. Gets a bit of chip damage into him there. Finds one over onto Kurtz. Can he grab the second? Panico! He had to dig deep for that one. He got the first. He got the last. W7M. They get the round.
And you could tell that he knew exactly where Panico was as well. The flick was directly on point, but Panico just landed those shots those milliseconds sooner. And I have to say, Panico has really been playing with some balls of steel for W7M today, cleaning up so many of the kills that have been awarded to the team and been playing confidently, aggressively, but not necessarily overstepping any boundaries. And it's nice to see him doing well in that process. It does mean that W7M have such a substantial lead over FaZe Clan at this point. And if they win this next round, which will be down on Kitchen, FaZe Clan find themselves at a 5-1 half, a 4-round deficit. That's not normal on really any map, and it's certainly not normal for FaZe Clan. This is the first time that W7M have defended this site, though. Now, that brings in 2 things to consider. The first, are W7M comfortable enough having a really strong defense on this? Well, given the fact that they haven't defended this site just yet, suggests that it's below the others in priority. It's very much a tertiary site. But the fact that they haven't done it yet means that FaZe Clan don't necessarily know what to expect. And they haven't really been that great at making effective adaptations on their attack every time they visited a site that W7M already have been to. So how well they're going to deal with a new site, I mean, that could swing very far away from their favor.
We shall have to see. I was sure we saw this site in round number 3, but I may have.
Oh, did we? Oh, we might have, and then
I may have messed
up
my notes. I'm not sure. I just seem to remember this sort of smoke rush coming in from FaZe, and around where sort of Panico was left to try and go huge, and Souls clutched it out.
Oh, yeah, I think I've written it down wrong. That's my bad.
It really is, you know, not
really
a big
is my
deal.
bad. I know.
Clash. It's going to play out in a similar way. The only reason that I brought it up, and the comment that I was going to make, was that we saw FaZe go for this sort of backside push, where they push in through Trophy and kind of the Solarium side of things, the Solarium stairs, whereas typically we see teams take control of this top floor and do really what Cyber's doing right now. He's got himself straight in. Now, who was playing this mirror window? I imagine it was a defender. I didn't know that attackers got mirror windows and reinforcements that they could use. But look at this power position now that Cyber has to play with. He's got some ping information coming out from him as well. Guy is maybe overstepping the mark here as to what is possible on a roaming mirror because he's lost his power position. Hadron's getting droned currently and getting shot to bits. Nade coming through as well. It could be the end. The drone is sticking on him. He's got so many crossfires to worry about there. And the floor's going to start getting open.
I like this from FaZe Clan. I like the fact that they're really knuckling down on this one specific defender. But alas, he's not the first to go down. That goes to Kurtz. That's that smoke W7M, they must have had a lot of training of playing without a smoke, because at this point, they just don't get the option to have him later on in the round, regardless of who's playing him. Padron finally finished off by Cyber, and this is a good, powerful start from FaZe.
Ooh, Panico stepping up. It was about time he did something in this round, as he is the leading light in terms of kills on the side of W7M. Laid prone right next to B-Bomb Chassis. Is he going to be able to get any rotation kills from these attackers? Herds isn't in a bad spot either, and W7M really willing to just bide their time here. Cameraman gets himself down. Astro trying to firefight his way through Solarium stairs with the addition of Souls. Cameraman now going to get revived. 25 seconds remain. Not a great deal of time here, especially when Herds is still playing on these main stairs. He can rotate at a moment's notice instead. Going to choose to challenge the long angle, but Guy, you're against the Cali. He does eventually win out one of the gunfights, but not before the diffuser goes down. Cyber being down makes this an equal 2 versus 2, and kills have to come from somewhere. They're going to come from Astro. He gets the plant, he gets the final 2, and FaZe Clan avoid quite a dramatic attacking phase going in their favor.
I was so ready for Herds to go big then and make up for everything from the earlier rounds, but it was not to be. And that was definitely a much nicer, much cleaner attack from FaZe Clan than we saw from them in some of the earlier rounds. They definitely looked like they knew a lot more what they wanted to do. They knew who they were trying to target, I mean, notably Padron. And I think it was definitely helped out by, you know, for example, the whole roaming mirror thing that you spoke about before, where Guy had left the mirror window upstairs in office, looking directly onto the library stairs. Suddenly Cyber gets control of that because it's been abandoned. You know, having those power positions as an attacker very early in the round, just because a defender has handed them over to you, it's a good place to be. And that's not necessarily because the attacker did anything right, other than happening to find a nice little station that the defenders have left them. All in all, FaZe just looked a lot tidier in that round. And now they've switched over to the defense. I wonder if we'll see a substantial difference in the way that they're playing. I would really like to see them look more comfortable, because regardless of where they won and where they lost in that first half, I don't think they necessarily looked super comfortable for a lot of it. They certainly didn't look like the FaZe that we've seen play in a number of these games so far in the first stage of BR6. This could maybe be where we see a lot of their strength and ingenuity come forth, and W7M perhaps struggle a bit more.
I mean, the good thing if you're a W7M fan is that they only need an equal 3-3 split. They don't need to set the world alight here on the attack. Now, we've spoken that Chalet can be tricky to attack onto, but they've got to find a hole somewhere in the defense that FaZe are putting out. Because it is there. Team 1 were able to find multiple holes in the defense of FaZe here on this map. We haven't seen the biggest of days from players like sort of Bullet or Cyber to say that, considering what we know that he is capable of. But when they get themselves onto the defense, could this all change? Vying for control of Library, and Astro is going to give it up quite quickly. As Padron put himself outside, Panico trying to burn out any of those magnets. Still a costly take onto Library for something that really in reality isn't actually clear yet, as Astro has since rotated back up and he's got himself in the little connector. We do also have Bullet playing just outside, so for as heavily as Library's being contested, W7M need to come up with an alternate approach, and I would suggest pushing in from K9 as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Oftentimes you see attackers really give a lot of attention to Piano so that they can head down from there. K9 is obviously right by Piano, directly opposite the library stairs. That's how we refer to that window and that balcony that's just outside of the office. So those certainly would be good angles that you could potentially take, especially if FaZe Clan are looking so reluctant to give up control of library. And they were throwing out the Wamai discs as well to consistently regenerate. There's a nice 2 2 kills from FaZe Clan, Bullet and Cyber, getting Panico and Herds. This should give them, or rather allow them, to retain a lot of control that W7M have struggled to take. Kurtz is just chipping around onto the stairs. He knows that there is a player down there, but he's not going to be overly aggressive, as he wants to be holding down the angle through towards the site as well.
We can see just how little W7M are working off information, not only demonstrated by how many drones they've got left, but the fact that none of these kills are actually getting traded. Kurtz is basically hard ADSing absolutely everything and trying to pre-fire his way on in. This could very well be a flawless here from FaZe. It's left down to poor old Padron. 15 seconds and 5 kills to find. He grabs 1 over onto Cyber, but I doubt that the rest of FaZe are going to be as aggressive. It's going to be Souls to pick the final kill up, but it could have been any single one of them. Padron, well, he was going into a disgusting crossfire there, hopping himself directly into sight just as a tokenary gesture of his contribution into that round. FaZe, they take round number 1 for them on the defense, and they start to try and claw back this round count some.
This is the site that's the one that I think I'll find the most interesting, because one of the things I spoke about that was particularly you know, shown off by W7M in their game on Villa against Ninjas in Pajamas was, it was their very physical flank watch, I think is how I spoke about it. And basically what I mean by that is they stood outside of windows and they just caught players as they were rotating around. Now, a lot of that can still be attributed to NIPs, you know, kind of lacking vigilance in those situations, which is, you know, partially their own fault. You can't take that away from them. But this is a site, of all the sites here on Chalet, where that would be the most possible for W7M. Because it's on the top floor, you don't have to be holding multiple floors in order to do that. So you can focus all of your attentions up on the top floor. You could have a player on bathroom window, master window, piano window, one on K9 balcony, and really hold a lot of those avenues in and those lines of sight in across the site. Now, what's going to be really interesting about this as well is FaZe Clan have brought a castle. We've actually seen a number of those barricades go up. I saw one on the bathroom window. I saw one on the master doorway. I'm not sure where the other one went, but the point is that's going to make it so much harder to hold those crossfires and long lines of sight across that top floor if that's what W7M were to go for.
We tend to see Castle kind of interchanged a little bit for a Rooney here on Chalet. Something else that is apparent now that we're seeing Souls playing on the Bandit as well is that Cade was, of course, banned by FaZe. Cade, usually quite a hot pick here for Chalet due to the Electroclaw and the ability to keep control of key walls with nice sneaky placements of said Electroclaw. Instead, we're looking toward the Bandit batteries, much more old-fashioned, if you will, sort of old siege tech, as the Bandit battery is a good old reliable for trying to keep control of hard walls or reinforced walls, but of course are slightly easier to deal with. And W7M, that's going to be on their list of things to do. So far, they are moving quite slowly. A lot of attention being paid to this West Main area. Looks like a drone is working ahead, and, well, Herds won't even require the drone, as it's going to be Cyber to fall. I believe the drone had missed him, and Cyber was maybe just chancing his arm to try and get out of that predicament. But for him, unluckily, it will not be so. Herds are getting himself locked into yet another engage here, as there's so many lines of sight that have been opened downstairs, and it really is eating a good deal of this time.
Souls catches Herds out in return. He got the entry kill, which is certainly nice to see, but he won't have the opportunity to get any more. Evens things out on the man count and gets rid of those 2 ostensibly fraggers for the 2 teams. But that doesn't necessarily mean others can't frag, and Astro's proving that. He gets Padron, but not before he manages to apply the breach onto the walls into the site.
The site has been open there with the Selmas, but with the diffuser cold, 35 seconds, you feel like Padron was a real key part in the plan there to try and get something down. Not only that, he holds smoke canisters, the smoke grenades that you're going to be able to try and cover off that plant with. Bullet left trying to find some surety as Astro is given an opportunity to peek and will do so. Taking down a little bit of damage, but nothing too significant onto Panico. Toxic Babe canisters are going to stem the push. Shotgun there from over the balcony. Oh, it's going to find one. He could find more yet to come. 5 seconds left. Poor old Panico and Kurtz getting shot like fish in a barrel. Guy offside on the balcony, not really providing any worth in those dying few moments, but really what was there that he could do?
W7M really trying to take control of that solarium side of the map, but in order to make that work for yourself, it has to be really well executed. We saw that actually in the first game of the day, all the way back when Team 1 were playing against Furia. We saw a Solarium kind of side push, a lot more decisive, a lot more specific, but this time it was a bit less so, and W7M were a bit messy in their moves in their execution, and Astro's kills at the end really signified that, I think, for me. The fact that he could control the top of the Solarium stairs while the others were trying to move up it, get a 2k for himself, he shouldn't have had that space at all. If you're trying to take it as the attackers, that should have been denied off. Now, W7M, I didn't actually know, so please do remind me if you know, Ollie. Were they playing a Nomad?
In that last round?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Guy. He was the guy out on the west balcony.
I thought that they would have, because that they like to bring the Nomad, but bringing the Nomad, I just wanted to add at the end there, playing, you know, the Nomad over towards that side of the map where Astro got those 2 kills could have been used to deny Astro those 2 kills. So maybe a bit better use of the air jabs was required.
It was just a bit half-hearted, wasn't it? The fact that Guy was out there on the balcony isn't a fault necessarily of him. It's that not everything was moving in perfect unison. And that means to say that there's potentially some members of the team that are moving a little bit quicker. There's some members that are moving a little bit too slowly. And you've just not hit that nice balance. There was also nobody on the upside-down rappel for the side of W7M, which is a position we saw Alamau playing in our first game of the night. And we all know how powerful upside-down rappels are. You've only got a tiny little bit of your head showing and you get such great visibility on into the site. So for the time being at least, ooh, it's not looking good. Cyber going to find an opener and a second as Panico tries to come in for the trade, rightly so, but equally gets sat down. Cyber, he's got about 15 health, but he's already grabbed himself 2 kills inside of a minute.
Yeah, man, he's done his job. Like, Cyber could die right now, and he's done his job. That's all he needed to do. So, really good from him. W7M will be on a slightly weakened basis, still trying to attack on. There's the breach onto the office wall, but Bullet is still holding control of Piano. The Melusi Banshee directly in front of him, and it's a Vulcan shield too. So those will have to be cleared out if they want to remove him, because he'll be very hard to kill just in his own right. And if you leave him, then he can hold on to that really important angle as the attackers have to move over towards the library stairs.
Certainly a tough spot for the side of W7M to be in. They've lost a lot of their soft destruction and, of course, the lifeline from Zafir, sledgehammer, the grenades, you name it, they have pretty much lost it at this point, and that could cause for a bit of a side push. Padrin going to be using an X-Thermic on a soft wall there. Always a bit of a risk. It is, in fact, going to get shot off, and Herds is instead going to just use a breaching round, which would have been the safer bet from the off, but still. Info being gathered on that top floor with the site castle barricaded. There is a chance to do something here, but there's such long lines of sight available for FaZe. Nasty bullet holes for Cyber, and you really blame him. He's found himself a couple of kills, and he's just going to show some patience here. Watching that bullet hole, doesn't really want to make it all too much bigger either, but he's not even going to need to. Soul's a C4, Astro a headshot, and Guy once again left last alive. Bullet trying to snap onto him there, and snap he will, straight onto the head. That Vector doing the dirty, and a flawless round for FaZe.
I mean, didn't I say if Bullet was not dealt with on that position, then he would be able to hold that key angle and catch people out, and that's how Guy went down at the end. And it kind of makes me laugh a little bit, the fact that Guy was, you know, he went to move away, hears the gunfire behind him, pokes his head back around the corner, just like, oh, what's going on over here? You're gonna die, mate. Like, you can't just do that. Well, now FaZe Clan have definitively overtaken W7M. So even though we saw W7M play pretty well on their defense, it has not been the same story while they're on the attack. And FaZe Clan are only 1 round away from match point now. They'll be heading back down to the bar, which is where they went in round number 7. Their preferred site to defend, evidently. And W7M are going to have a big think about what they would like to change the fate of this game, because it doesn't seem to be moving in the way they would like. They've brought along Guy on Lion, so dropped the Nomad, won't be having the air jabs out and about, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think there has been much effectiveness from the air jabs that he has been placing so far. The Lion is something that could catch out players of FaZe Clan and facilitate aggression from those frag players of W7M. But again, I feel like I have to come back to that same point that I made in the first half, and that is, if you want something like that to facilitate the aggression from your fragging players, they have to be disciplined with the aggression that they show before then. You can't take opportunistic swings and pushes and jumps if you have no real valid reason to believe it's going to work. Hopefully, bringing the E1D with the Lion will help keep them in check a bit more.
And it gets a little bit more active utility out of Guy as well, because he's fallen into that quintessential flank watch role. And it's sometimes like he's almost a little bit too stuck in it when he's the last alive and still trying to like either clear or flank watch upstairs to some degree. And you just get the impression that it's hurting ever so slightly. So with that E1D, there's a chance here that they're going to be able to take somebody out and pin them down. Cameraman going to find an opener over onto Padrin. Hard breach removed. Something that you would surely like to have here, but by no means a requirement, as Panico trades out over onto Bullets as well. Now, a late E1D, but it does something to root the defenders for a time. As with a man count advantage now, W7M find themselves, for the first time in a long time, in a commanding position.
Gives them some space to work with. Bear in mind, Cyber is playing on Frost, and you don't want to see any of these attackers suddenly lose their advantage to landing in one of her welcome mats. Herds being droned in by one of his teammates means that W7M will be to work on the top floor. Astro is present in library. He's watching just out to the corridor and receiving pings from his teammates as to the whereabouts of those attackers. He does, of course, have the hatch open right next to him, which he'll be able to use to drop down onto the side should things get too pressurizing. But for now, he's in a good position to support onto Cyber, who is playing the library stairs.
You can hear drones going in now for Panico as all the players on the side of FaZe are getting themselves into almost off-site positions. It looks like they may be setting up for some sort of a retake here. Arguably giving up a little bit of this control. Nade's getting tossed on in. Hope that's downstairs, and the indicator is just a little bit proactive there, as could have been a bit of a disaster, but diffuser has been juggled around some. Herds has opened up there over into storage. He's not going to be able to get a line of sight there, getting caught out in the prone. Does get some foot shots in onto Souls. E1D now comes on in, but Cyber finds a kill over onto Herds, and a second onto Kurtz. This advantageous position for W7M is now just falling by the wayside. Astro, another, and Guy last alive once again, 5 seconds. Any kill at this point is going to be impactless as the timer hits 0-0. FaZe do a number to keep that one under control.
How the hell W7M were allowed to move into library? I shouldn't word it like that. It's not about them being allowed to move into library. I don't want to say it like it was some shortcoming of FaZe Clan. It absolutely was not. It was a shortcoming of W7M. How they allowed themselves to move into library while Cyber could still play from upstairs, I don't know if Cyber was there the whole time or if he went and came back up. I think he was there the whole time, which arguably makes it worse. But either way, your options are get rid of the guy who's still upstairs, make sure he's not still there, especially if you're setting up for a post plant or to try and kill into storage. And if he had gone down and made his way back up, you need a flank watch to ensure those stairs are not an option for the defenders. Either way, you set up your attacks so that you opened up the soft wall onto storage, tried and failed to kill the guy who was in there, that was Souls on the Goyo, and then there's still a defender upstairs who can just clean you up anyway. Really bizarre there from W7M. They had an advantage in that round for a decent chunk of it. And it looked like maybe they were going to get some meaningful space upstairs to set up for a push or a plant or at least control of the site below. But that was such an oversight from them, and it's what came to eat them. And now FaZe Clan are on match point. W7M have not shown anything on their attacking half so far to suggest that they are going to have a substantial change to swing the tides in their favor.
W7M have a lot of work to do here. They had a good defensive phase, but that isn't enough. Cyber has been increasingly a problem on this defense as he's got himself onto the Jaeger and just seems to cause more and more problems round after round here for W7M. Cameraman's seen some early damage as the drones have gone in ahead and Panico's tried to... But it's going to be Kurtz to fall as Bullet finds the opener. Nade does get tossed on in, but nobody watching the window. But not really in a position to try and respond to that opening kill. And this is a position that hurts them greatly. Losing the Zephyr, once again, losing so much of that utility that you're going to try and use to deal with castle barricades, the Lucy Banshees. It really just doesn't bode well.
Panico being pressured from a couple of angles. Astro is going to let go of the position that he was holding onto the window. FaZe Clan still holding most, if not all, of the control up here. The site is on the top floor, so that's where you'd expect pretty much all of the defenders to be, and you can see W7M trying to position themselves on these windows to take some control. Out comes the E1D. Once again, it's a Solarium side, and it'll be Hertz to get a kill onto Cyber. Looking like W7M at least have some control here. It's a C4 onto the window, but it does miss Panico. Maybe this could be where things change.
Could be a dangerous rotation here from Bullet. He's seen the opportunity and he's hit his shots. We've also seen a down over onto Herds, and Padron's going to take a moment to try and get him up while some smoke dissipates. We do have Guy on the upside down rappel, but I would argue it's the wrong window. The window he ought to be on is master bedroom, and nobody is on that, and Astro is showing us just why somebody should be on that as he picks up 2 kills there. Guy now left in the 1 versus 3, hits the EE1D, finds 2, goes for the hop in. Can he win his next engage? No, he can't. Bullet, he's going to run out from downstairs. FaZe Clan, they are going to pick up that round and the map here on Chalet.
What a shame for W7M after having a pretty victorious first half for it to all go down the drain at the end. FaZe Clan retaining their spot at the top. Well, I mean, the thing with Guy at the end there, you know, you mentioned how he was on the wrong window. I can understand why he wanted to be on the rappel on the Solarium window, because that's where Astro played that rat corner at the top of the